So, of course, everybody, in just a bit, we will be proceeding on to our very first panel discussion for today. The topic that we will be touching upon is how SMEs prepare for post COVID 19 new normal, opportunities, and threats. And to tell us more about this particular topic, we have with us Osman Faiz, Chief Information and Operating Officer, AMTD Digital, as well as Swee Siong, EXCO member, Association of Small and Medium Enterprises, ASME, and founder of TrueVA Capital. Alex Tian, founder, Deliverychinatown, and co-founder, Webuy. And we also have with us Vakil, co-founder and CEO, GlobalLinker. Let's welcome all of them.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Osman Faiz. I'm the CIO and CEO of AMTD Group and your moderator of today's panel. So today's panel topic is how SME prepare for post-COVID-19, new normal, the opportunities and threats. And we have bankers, reps from SME Association, FinTech, and small business owners of this panel. So let me take an opportunity to introduce them. We have Swee Siong, is an EXCO member of the Association of Small Medium Enterprise in Singapore. He's also the founder of TrueVA Capital and digital strategy advisor, investment and training business. Then we have Vakil, is co-founder and CEO of GlobalLinker, a business networking solution co-branded by governments, trade bodies, and leading corporations. GlobalLinker digitizes and connects SMEs and has over 300,000 SMEs from over 150 countries on its platform. It operates local version in India, Philippines, and Thailand, and is soon expanding to have more local country versions, including Singapore. Then we have Alex Tian, founder of Deliverychinatown, which is an island-wide food delivery platform. Alex is also the co-founder of Webuy, which is a leading social e-commerce platform in Singapore. Alex's business approach has been focusing, bringing together platform partners with hundreds of SMEs, restaurants, suppliers, and logistic partners to support their business with e-commerce and help them to adopt digital channels. Firstly, I would like to open with a question to Swee. Swee, based on your observation of SMEs in Singapore, what are the needs and pain points and how things have changed during COVID-19 and what do you think have moving back to the new normal would be like?
Thank you, Oman, and pleasure to be here. So I think first off, SMEs cuts across multiple industries and are at various stages of maturity, right? So as such, the impact of COVID is felt very differently across the whole spectrum of SMEs. Some industries like technology, groceries, in fact, benefited from COVID, whereas others like hospitality, F&B were significantly hit. But perhaps we could dissect this from the perspective of the three strategic thrusts which SME has been focusing on. Right, so these are number one, digitalization, two, internationalization, and three, human capital. So for digitalization, the pandemic has actually highlighted the urgency for many SMEs to digitalize their business. And those that have done so prior to the pandemic could actually see the benefits. So take the case of one of our members who started selling fishing accessories online. And their business volume actually increased manifolds during the circuit breaker. It's surprising because you'll be wondering, right, who's going fishing during the pandemic? But nonetheless, it's true, right? And another engine of growth is in technology startups in specific industry verticals where, for example, we saw many edtech startups emerging as well in 2020. Now, for the second thrust, internationalization, many trade shows has been cancelled, and this obviously impacted SMEs who are used to such channels for their international business development. But for some service businesses, take let's say training, for example, the pandemic has actually created new opportunities for them to extend their reach overseas, as remote training now becomes a new accepted norm. And let's look at the last one, human capital. So SMEs have always struggled with attracting talents, but this pandemic has actually created a displacement of the local talent pool. So more university undergrads are finding it more difficult to find job placements or even internships in big companies. And this creates opportunity for the more forward-looking SMEs who are less impacted by the pandemic to acquire talents. Now let's be real, right? There will be many casualties. Some might already be on life support extended through the many government interventions introduced during COVID. And once that's lifted, they could face an eventual demise. But the key takeaway is this: SMEs who are able to leverage technology to overcome challenges or even to capture new opportunities that's arising from the pandemic, they will be better placed to emerge stronger.
Oh, definitely. Thanks for your insightful inputs. Let me flip to Alex. In your experience, Alex, understand you are having both roles. Your businesses are fast growing, and you're also trying to manage merchants and small businesses. What are your sharing about COVID-19 challenges and opportunities that you see, Alex?
Yeah, thanks, Osman, and glad to be here. Me and most of my partners are all SMEs. The pandemic has impacted us in all aspects and brought a lot of changes in the way we are doing business. I would like to summarize our situation into 3 key sharings based on my own experience. Reform, reinvention, and new competition. Firstly, the whole supply chain in the FMCG industry is reformed due to this COVID-19, driven by this COVID-19 and especially the lockdown period. I can see some very, very big factories. Previously, they only do wholesale business, now already changed to adopt the new opportunities and start their shops and open their business to the end consumers. Some have already built new factories and start to produce goods and design for the end consumers. These are some changes that will not revert back and become a strong and a stronger trend in the industry. The factories are finally reconnected directly to the end consumers by new digital solutions. The supply chain is reformed in such a way that some players are dropped off and some are facing new challenges in their new business venture, which is to the end consumer, selling directly to the end consumer using the e-commerce and then the new digital solutions. And this also brings to my second point, reinvention. We have been seeing some of very fast-moving SME merchants. They have already made a nice move in the early stage of this pandemic, such as a dumpling manufacturer merchant whose main business previously was selling to the business clients, their business clients like the restaurants. Now they have already built a new e-commerce team and started their shop in e-commerce platforms like us, and they have also built their own auto solutions and start to actively manage the loyalty of their end consumer and also increase their productivity. Similarly, some restaurants also invented some new ready food, half-cooked food, which can be stored in the refrigerator, and they sell to end consumer directly with delivery. These merchants, they continued this business success even after the CB period, and like the restaurants, they already find new central kitchens. And these are some reinvention I would like to share. And this is caused by the COVID-19. Everyone is forced out of their comfortable zone, and some faster ones group is growing better with this reinvention. And thirdly, with the reform of the industry and the reinvention of some business owners, these are introducing new and totally different competition in our existing business, such as us. We are also affected because we are doing social e-commerce group buy platform in Singapore. And in the last 5 years, there were more than 30 new such platforms emerged only in Singapore. So all these past norms of business are disrupted. New competitors with new capital, with new technologies, they enter into existing business and bring a lot of changes to us. The competition become different, become fierce, and even these new players may bring changes that could totally change the existing industry, the way we are doing business. So our SMEs really need to be well prepared for the post-COVID-19 period because the competitions are all changed. And my suggestion to my team as well as to my partners is always we need to keep a healthy cash flow. We need to explore and adopt new digital technologies. And we also need to get and retain talented people so that we can face the new competition and also catch new opportunities.
No, thanks, Alex. COVID-19 is actually a very challenging period for all of us, and lots of industry are still struggling, like the entertainment. Let's hear from Samir. What do you understand your business is targeting at helping SME communities and provide some solutions? So in your views, what are the challenges and opportunities that you see, Samir?
Thanks, Osman, and I think that's a great question as well. The first thing we must all accept is that COVID is new to all of us. And this is around the world, whether they're large enterprises, small businesses, all of us were caught by surprise. None of us had ever thought of even preparing ourselves for something like this. So at a time like this, when you don't have experts to turn to, the most natural thing really is to turn to each other. And what we saw, and given we have a community of 300,000 SMEs, like you said, from 150 countries, what we saw was two things happening. One is the sense of a community coming up where people were starting to discuss whether it's problems, whether they were opportunities, whether they were way in which things are changing. They started talking more about it and more conversations happened. So it's a question of the community coming alive and a lot of collaboration starting to happen. So people were not seeing each other as adversaries. They were trying to help each other out. Solutions were coming out that were targeting customers, and then you started to see that level of collaboration. But underlying all of this in COVID, what we saw was three types of organizations. The first were organizations, like Swee correctly said, who were going to be benefited by COVID, whose businesses were actually going to be seeing a positive impact from COVID. People in distance learning, educational programs, people who were already in digital services, etc., saw a boom, but also a lot of traditional businesses. And Swee talked about an interesting example of the fishing company. We similarly saw a sports company providing a lot of indoor sports requirements for people at their homes. And like he correctly said, because this company was digitized earlier, they were able to take advantage during the COVID. And as the logistics solutions would open up, they were able to deliver these solutions to consumer homes. The second were the groups and businesses where there was a lull for a period of time and we knew the businesses would pick up in due course. For them, it was really being able to survive that period more from a financial perspective. And Alex talked about how that becomes a very important juncture to go through. But the second was to reinvent their business models. So those restaurants that sat and waited for the government to allow restaurants to open waited much longer, whereas there were many businesses that actually turned themselves into dark kitchens. And all they were really concerned was being able to produce food, good quality, under hygienic conditions, and be able to pack and deliver them to consumer homes. And Alex's business is doing a great job over there. But that's really what happened to the second segment of businesses. The third segment was really hit very badly. So not only were their cash flows hit, customer traffic was completely came to a grinding halt, their business models were under question, whether they would revive, or even if they did revive, would they revive in the same manner? And therefore, I think these are people who needed to reinvent themselves and their businesses, look at new business models. The good thing is the pandemic is also coming up with huge opportunities, whether it is the way a grocery store probably ran its business versus how they are likely to do tomorrow. So I think there's a lot of fundamental changes that have been happening. The good thing is that small businesses today have a number of solutions, and ours is just one example of that, but many software as services solutions are available. And today the only limitation for a small business is their own imagination. So one, if they stay waiting for events to happen and for things to return to normal, I would think that would be a very hard proposition, and a lot of them will discover the hard way that really won't necessarily work. No time better than now to not really relax, but to think of ways of reinventing oneself. Look at solutions that are available around us. It's not as hard as it may have been in the past to reinvent yourself. So people with open minds will really take advantage. Over a period of time, I would expect businesses to really grow. Most small businesses will flourish, but those will flourish, the ones who are able to reinvent themselves at this time and accept the new normal, as well as be very, very agile during this period.
No, thank you. Very helpful, Samir. These are really insightful sharing. I think we got to look more forward, all said and done that has happened. How do we get back to normal? And as you have suggested, that this is the new normal. So let me get into a little different question that any of you, or maybe Swee can answer that to start. How long do you think that it will take for business sentiments to come back and before SMEs can find their way back, if I may say, and what should be they doing in the meantime? That government has also talking about perhaps withdrawing some of the financial support eventually. So it'll be good to hear from you, Swee, your views on this.
Sure, yeah. So these are my personal views only, right? That I guess business sentiments are starting to look better with the announcement of positive results from the vaccines, right? But I suppose things will sort of get better when the vaccines are distributed out there and a broader population is able to reopen its economy, right? But how long that's going to take, it could be 6 months, it could be 12 months, right? So in the meantime, I think as Samir has mentioned earlier, SMEs can't afford to just wait, right? They do have to think about emerging stronger by reinventing themselves, deploying digital tools, right? So that's my perspective.
I think you are correct. Obviously, this is the time of getting digital, being more open and inclusive. Let me try and get the understanding from Alex. What do you think?
For me, actually, similarly, I also think go digital is the most important approach that the SMEs need to adopt. Yeah, because looking at the new norms in the business, everything changed, and the government support won't be there forever, and we need to increase our productivity, and we also need to use new technologies to connect to our end consumers, to our customers, and create ties with them and keep our business growing and sustainable. Yeah, I think that is very important. Also, and also looking at the growing of the e-commerce due to this COVID-19. I think the growing of the e-commerce and the logistic and the payment support are also very important. I think we are also looking for some more technology solutions from the FinTech, especially when we are looking at expanding our business into other areas in the Southeast Asia.
Yeah. So before the time is short, 20 minutes, I guess we have come to the last leg. Quickly, Samir, how do you think the financial institutions, FinTech players can help SMEs to find their feet and grow once the pandemic is fully over?
Yeah, I think traditionally banks and other financial institutions have always looked at customers coming to them with their requirements. I think just as we've talked about SMEs having to change, I think banks and financiers also need to change. Until now, it was always about supply chain finance. It was about trade finance. I think now it is about trade and it's about supply chain. Finance will follow from there. I think the first thing organizations need to do is to be proactive, reach out rather than wait for customers to come to them. Create new product solutions and create the ability for SMEs to be able to access better solutions faster. And financing also has to reinvent itself. So I think it's time for everyone to reinvent themselves, not just SMEs, but institutions that deal with them as well. So it's a mindset change. From a timeline perspective, those who wait will probably wait for a long time because there is a fundamental behavioral change. Consumption is the same. The manner of consumption will change. So I think it's reinvention is the key word right now.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think we have come to the end of this session. So I just wanted to thank Swee, Samir, and Alex for sharing your thoughts. Really very helpful and insightful. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.